I'm Rachel Chen, and I learned the hard way that family and business don't always mix. From the moment I could walk, my grandfather's company, Chen Global Enterprises, was my second home. While other kids played with dolls, I sat in his office, watching him build an empire from scratch. Remember, little bird, he'd say, his eyes twinkling behind wire-rimmed glasses. In business, what people see isn't always what is. I didn't understand then that he was teaching me the most valuable lesson of my life. Growing up, I was different from my cousins. They flaunted their wealth, driving luxury cars to high school and bragging about their trust funds. I took the bus and worked part-time at our smallest warehouse, learning the business from the ground up. "Why do you let her embarrass us like this?" my Uncle Victor would complain to Grandpa. "A Chen shouldn't be working like a common laborer." Grandpa would just smile and say, "Everyone has their own path." My cousin James, Uncle Victor's oldest son, was especially cruel. "Look at the charity case." He'd sneer when I arrived at family functions in my simple clothes, trying to prove she's worthy of the Chen name. What they didn't know was that every summer since I was 12, Grandpa had been privately tutoring me in business strategy, finance, and leadership. While my cousins partied on yachts, I studied market trends and corporate governance. "Why keep it a secret?" I asked him once. He patted my hand. "Sometimes, little bird, the best way to learn who people really are is to let them underestimate you." I took his words to heart, excelling in business school while maintaining my simple image. By 25, I had an MBA and intimate knowledge of every aspect of Chen Global Enterprises, from warehouse operations to international logistics. Then came the diagnosis. Grandpa's cancer was aggressive. Within months, he was confined to his bed in the family mansion. My cousins suddenly became very attentive, visiting daily with reports about their roles in the company. "The Shanghai deal is proceeding perfectly," James would boast, though I knew from my warehouse contacts that shipments were consistently delayed. "The new tech division is revolutionizing everything," my cousin Victoria would claim, while our 8 staff quietly complained about outdated systems. I visited Grandpa late at night, after the others had gone. We'd talk about real business problems, supply chain issues, employee morale, market expansion opportunities. He never let on how much pain he was in, but I could see it in his eyes. One night, he held my hand tighter than usual. "Promise me something, little bird." "Anything, Grandpa. Don't let them see you coming." A week later, he was gone. The funeral was a spectacle of performative grief. Uncle Victor sobbed loudly about carrying on Father's legacy. James and Victoria competed to tell stories about their special bonds with Grandpa. I sat quietly in the back, genuinely mourning the man who had been more father than grandfather to me. The real drama began at the emergency board meeting 3 days later. As the new CEO, Uncle Victor announced, "My first action is to restructure the executive team. James will be COO, Victoria CFO." I raised my hand. "Shouldn't we wait for the will reading?" The laughter was immediate and cruel. "Oh honey," Victoria smirked. "This isn't a kindergarten class. You don't need to raise your hand. And you don't need to be here at all," James added. "This is a board meeting, not a warehouse inventory check." Uncle Victor tried to look sympathetic. "Rachel, I know Father let you dabble in the business, but this is reality. The company needs strong, experienced leadership." "So you're firing me from my warehouse position?" I asked quietly. "Consider it a kindness," James said. "You're clearly not cut out for business. Maybe try something simpler, like dog walking." More laughter. I noticed some board members looking uncomfortable but staying silent. "All in favor of terminating Rachel Chen's employment with Chen Global Enterprises?" Uncle Victor asked. Every hand went up except mine. "It's unanimous then," he smiled. "Rachel, please clear out your locker by end of day. Security will escort you." I stood slowly. "Shouldn't we really wait for the will reading?" "It's scheduled for—" I checked my watch. "Right now, actually." The door opened and Mr. Zhang, Grandpa's longtime lawyer, walked in. His face was carefully neutral as he carried a thick envelope and a USB drive. "Perfect timing," Uncle Victor said. "We were just finishing up some housekeeping. Now about Father's shares." "Actually," Mr. Zhang interrupted, "I believe this meeting is premature. The late Mr. Chen's will contain specific instructions about company leadership." He connected the USB to the conference room screen. Grandpa's face appeared. He'd recorded a video will. "If you're watching this," he began, Then I'm no longer with you. And knowing my son Victor, he's probably already called a board meeting to seize control. Uncle Victor's face reddened. Let me be clear, Grandpa continued. For the past 15 years, I've been gradually transferring company shares into a blind trust. As of my death, this trust owns 75% of Chen Global Enterprises, and its sole trustee and beneficiary is my granddaughter, Rachel. The room erupted in chaos. This is impossible, James shouted. It's a forgery, Victoria screeched. Uncle Victor had gone deathly pale. Furthermore, Grandpa continued, his eyes twinkling one last time. Rachel has completed the executive training program I designed specifically for my successor. She has worked in every department, learned every aspect of our business, and earned the respect of our employees at all levels. She is not just the majority shareholder. She is the new CEO of Chen Global Enterprises. Mr. Zhang paused the video and began distributing documents. These papers confirm the share transfer and Rachel's appointment. They've been verified by 3 independent law firms. I stood again, smoothing my simple skirt. Now about that restructuring. Uncle Victor swayed in his chair. This isn't. Oh, and James, I added. About the Shanghai delays, I've already spoken with our logistics team. We're implementing a new tracking system next week. Victoria, the IT upgrade you've been blocking. The contracts are signed. Work begins Monday. You can't do this, Victoria sputtered. We're family. Yes, I replied calmly. We are. And family should support each other, not mock and belittle. Grandpa taught me that too. The next morning, I arrived at Chen Global Enterprises headquarters at 6 a.m. The security team had already been updated with my new clearance level. Ted, the head of security who had known me since my warehouse days, gave me a warm smile. About time, Ms. Chen, he said, handing me my new access card. Your grandfather would be proud. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since yesterday. Dozens of missed calls from family members who had never bothered to call before. The messages ranged from threatening to pleading. Uncle Victor, this is a mistake. You're destroying our family legacy. James, you'll regret this. I have dirt on the company that could ruin everything. Victoria, please, cousin. We can work something out. Name your price. Aunt Margaret, think of your cousin's children. They were counting on their inheritances. I silenced my phone and entered Grandpa's, now my office. Everything was exactly as he'd left it, including the small photo of us on his desk, taken on my first day working in the warehouse. I was 12, wearing oversized safety gear, beaming next to him. Mr. Zhang arrived an hour later with more documents. Your cousin's lawyers are already filing challenges to the will, he informed me. And there's something else you should see. He handed me a thick folder. Inside were records of unauthorized transactions, inflated expense reports, and suspicious overseas accounts, all tied to James, Victoria, and Uncle Victor. Your grandfather knew? I asked. He knew everything, Mr. Zhang nodded. He was waiting to see if they'd come clean, take responsibility. They never did. How much did they steal? Conservative estimate, $20 million over the past 5 years. I thought of all the employees who'd been denied raises while my cousins bought new sports cars. Of the safety upgrades delayed at our warehouses while Victoria renovated her vacation home. Call the forensic accountants, I said. I want every penny traced. The family emergency meeting that evening was explosive. They gathered at Uncle Victor's mansion, the one bought with company funds, I now knew. Be reasonable, Rachel, Uncle Victor pleaded. We can work this out. Keep the shares, if you insist, but let us handle the day-to-day operations. Like you've been handling the company finances? I asked, sliding copies of the transaction records across the table. The color drained from their faces. Those were approved expenses. James stammered. Really? The company paid for your gambling debts in Macau? Victoria's secret apartment in Vancouver? Uncle Victor's offshore accounts? Aunt Margaret burst into tears. Think of what this will do to our reputation. You should have thought of that before stealing from your own father's company, I replied. From the employees who trusted you. What do you want? Victoria asked, her voice small. Money? A position on the board? I want what Grandpa wanted, a company that operates with integrity, that takes care of its employees, that earns its success. And if we refuse to resign, Uncle Victor challenged. I stood straightening my jacket. Then the police get these files tomorrow morning. Your choice. They resigned the next day, all three signing ironclad NDAs in exchange for avoiding criminal charges. The condition: they had to repay every stolen penny, with interest. The company transformation began immediately. We raised warehouse worker wages, upgraded safety equipment, and modernized our aita systems. Employee morale soared. Productivity followed. 6 months later, Chen Global Enterprises' profits had increased by 30%. The business magazines that had once dismissed us as old-fashioned now praise our innovative management style. Then came the invitation, the Asian Business Leadership Awards. We've been nominated for Most Improved Corporate Culture. The night of the ceremony, I wore a simple but elegant black dress. As I accepted the award, I spotted familiar faces in the crowd. Uncle Victor, James, and Victoria sat at a distant table, their expressions a mix of anger and regret. Later, at the reception, Victoria approached me alone. I've been in therapy, she said quietly. I never thanked you for not pressing charges. It wasn't for you, I replied. It was for Grandpa. He always hoped you'd learn. The company, it's doing amazing things now. Those education programs for employees' children, the health benefits, he would have loved that. I nodded, remembering Grandpa's words about business being about more than profit. A year after taking control, I instituted a new tradition: take your child to work day. Watching employees proudly show their kids around, including the warehouses, I thought of my own journey. Uncle Victor and James still tried to stir up trouble occasionally, spreading rumors or attempting to contact board members. But their credibility is shot, and a company's success speaks for itself. Last week, I found an old notebook in Grandpa's desk. Inside was his handwriting. My little bird, when they see you soar, they'll understand why I taught you to fly close to the ground first. Success isn't improving others wrong. It's improving yourself right. All my love, Grandpa. I keep that notebook on my desk now, next to the photo of 12-year-old me in the warehouse. It reminds me that true leadership isn't about power or titles. It's about responsibility, integrity, and lifting others as you rise. The company's annual charity gala is next month. This year's theme is Building Future Leaders. We're announcing a scholarship program for employees' children who want to study business, named in honor of my grandfather. Yesterday, I overheard one of our longest-serving warehouse workers telling his daughter, "See that office up there? Our CEO started right here, just like us. In this company, anyone can rise if they work hard and stay honest." I smiled, knowing Grandpa would have loved that. Sometimes, late at night in my office, I look out at the city lights and think about that little girl in the oversized safety gear. She didn't know she was training to be CEO. She just knew she wanted to make her grandfather proud. The latest company photo hangs on the wall. Our entire workforce, from executives to janitors, all wearing the same company t-shirts. In the front row, I'm not standing on a platform or dressed differently. I'm just part of the team. Because that's what Grandpa taught me. True leadership isn't about standing above others. It's about lifting them up to stand with you. And that's a lesson worth more than any inheritance.